welcome to a So Steady online event. Please have all your tools and note-taking capabilities ready. Your event begins in less than 3 minutes.
Hi, everyone. It's Stacy with So Steady, and we are going to be here today doing our first fall box project. Now, this on that way you can actually purchase these practice panels separately and be able to use it the same exact way. So today we're our dealers, more sewing, and we were doing ruler quilting classes. And ruler quilting classes, it's really important to be like at the height of your sewing machine. And so um, one of the stores actually went out and bought a bunch of D. And in fact, I actually already have done a couple of the designs on the class kit, and I'm still the best way to align my designs. But I'm going to be using my crosshair square to do that. I've got my Choco marker, and I've got my doing some decorative stitches with and some tape. I'll be doing an envelope back finish. So those are the supplies, of course, scissors as well. So by actually marking my fabric, really important that we identify where we want our center to be on our design. So when we are aligning our any design, really, but what we're going to do is just use that to find center, and this is a 6-inch, so it's center, and it makes it just do the straight lines here, and then I'm going to connect those using the and voila, we've got our center. And program called The Essence of
Hi everyone. All right, we are back and I am ready to share our video with you. I had to create it on the backside because of course my streaming capabilities in my sewing room are not good. I asked them to fix it for me. Apparently they haven't figured out how yet. So we're just gonna have to keep doing the recordings. But while we're at it, let's go ahead and talk about the fact that we have a winner. So we are announcing our winner for our Elevate Club box. And so this is someone that signed up to be able to watch our live. They signed up whether it was during our events or somewhere along the way. We've been promoting our live box launch for some time now. And so they may not even remember they signed up. But the winner of our Elevate Club box, and this is someone, if you won, then and you're already a club member, then we can certainly use that to credit towards something else. Or you can give this box to a quilter in your life. This could be an amazing present to share with someone. So let's go ahead and hope that you are as excited as we are to announce the winner of Marion Thompson. Marion will be emailing you to let you know you are the official club winner for our fall club box. And please help us in congratulating Marion, everyone. So let's head on over to our seat cushion class. What we did is we created a seat cushion using our practice panel D, which is related to our club box that we just introduced. So if you, and I'm just going to share this with you in the video here in a moment too, but so I'll let the video tell you everything. But I will jump in and add some audio along the way. So let's go ahead and get started. Thanks so much for your patience today, guys. And I'm glad that we could figure out how to make it work.
Hi everyone, it's Stacy with Sew Steady, and I am here today, and we're going to do our practice panel with our Embroidery Practice Class Kit for Shadow Dizzy Geese, which is one of our first classes that we're offering for our Shadow Dizzy Geese. And we're going to be doing our practice panel D. This design is using some fun designs that we incorporated into the class kit. Again, this was inspired by Donna McCauley, who is no longer with us, but she had created this amazing program called The Essence of Tradition. And so every single quarter, we're highlighting one specific quilt block, and we're using her inspiration and a whole lot more to give you amazing quilt designs that will allow you to finish your quilt projects. In addition to that, we're having some fun. We're doing some different projects along the way. And so we're going to be using one of our practice panels, and we're going to be creating a seat cushion today. So let's get started. So I'm going to go ahead and
Okay, so now we're going to introduce the class supplies that we are going to be using today. So what we have here is our crosshair square. We've got our circles and straights tool and mat, our Choco marker, and then we are going to be using this bias tape, and it's going to act as our strings for our seat cushion to be able to go ahead and secure it to maybe a folding chair or something along that. And then we've got our envelope back fabric that we're going to be using to secure it all, and my number 8 foot for my Janome sewing machine, which we'll just be using to be able to do some of the circle sewing, as well as sewing on the strings and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and
heading over to my machine. I'm going to start my hooping process right here. So actually I might go ahead and go back to the other camera and put some of this stuff aside as we get going with that. But first I want to go ahead and mark my blocks. So
All right, so as I'm getting my block all marked here, I'm going to go ahead and align my 6.5 inch crosshair ruler, which is actually a perfect size for this because we're going to be doing 4 separate 6-inch blocks to be able to form a finished 12-inch shadow gypsy geese. So we're going to be quilting basically 4 different designs on this. And so I'm just finding the center of my crosshair ruler, and then we're going to go ahead and do that again. So now we've got center on both blocks. Excellent. And here we go. So in order to do this, to get the center point, you would either want to use a pen that has more of a pointed edge. I'm using my Choco marker that's got a nice fat ruler ball edge. So that's why I use my the edges of my crosshair ruler to go ahead and mark center. All right, so now we're going to head back over, and once I secure my hoop onto my fabric panel. So go ahead and get that placed. Nice, secure magnet there. And, you know, one thing about having these big machines is you kind of have to be able to work on the actual machine sometimes because they take up so much space in your sewing room. So I'm just going to rest this up here on the hoop.
To hoop can sometimes be a little extra. But I will go ahead and use the space that I have right here to do that. So my goal here is just to kind of line up my project, and I'm going to use this and okay. Doesn't feel like it's magnetizing right now. Let's see what's going on. Oh, I have it flipped the wrong way. Isn't that funny? Okay, yeah. Now we got some magnet action. All right. And again, what's great is that you can just kind of adjust really easily. All right, so let's go ahead and get this attached to the machine. I was at an event this last week down in Southern California. Shout out to one of our stores, More Sewing, and we did 4 different events with them that were ruler work based, which was really fun, and it allowed us to go ahead and get into the stores. And for me, and actually my mom, we had this opportunity to really get in and kind of host some of these events that we are kicking off with our partners like Janome. And so when we were at the events, though, you know, they don't all have the extra fancy chairs that we can sit in. So what I loved is that we had this opportunity to be able to identify that need of a seat cushion. Especially when you're doing ruler work, having a seat cushion can be really, really helpful because sometimes you want to be able to sit a little bit taller in your chair. You know, you're kind of getting up with your arms in a certain area. So having the seat cushion is really, really nice. And right now I'm actually just picking my design that I'm going to be embroidering onto the machine. So let me
Okay, so my recording didn't all go perfect. So I'm going to be ad-libbing some of the audio for you in here, and that's what you're hearing is the back and forth on the sound. But we're going to be picking our embroidery design now, and now the machine's kind of doing its thing, moving around to be able to make that work. And so in choosing my design, I'm going to go ahead and get that placed, you know, in the right, and move the needle to the correct starting position. So that's what I'm working on right now on the machine. Now, there are some really, really cool features that you can use on the machines these days to be able to get centered and get everything aligned. In fact, this particular machine has an app to do that. And that one, I'm just going to be using the arrows to go ahead and do it because not all machines are created equal. And so I'm going to be just kind of using my eyeball and being able to line up the needle and the starting point to the center that way. So that's how I went ahead and used this to go ahead and get started. Now we're going to head over and we're going to finish the watching the embroidery. I'm going to do the other side of the hoop, but you'll see the finished look with all 4 embroidery designs. Okay, so you can see that we got those 2 embroidered, and actually I did not get the perfect placement on these. They were a little bit high, so I was able to go ahead and kind of figure out where I went wrong here, and I'm going to go ahead and get everything lined up a little bit better on the second 2 that I've got listed right there. So let's go ahead and head back over to the embroidery machine. It looks like I'm getting everything secured here. And we'll switch our camera over here in a moment. There it is. So you can see now on the screen, I'm going to go ahead and just move my placement down. I need it to be at about 5. So I use my grid to go ahead and line up. That's kind of the way you do it if you do not have, of course, a fancy app available to you to go ahead and have it be perfect placement. And so I used the grid and I knew I needed 6 squares to the right and 4.5 squares up from the center line to be able to align that just right. And so I decided it wasn't quite where I wanted it. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the machine now and move that placement 1 notch to the left. And then we should be all set. And then we'll go ahead and get our embroidery going on the left side of the machine. So this is a really simple project that we're doing today. And if you have a circle sewing tool, I really encourage you to get it out and just do some easy stuff, especially as we're getting into the holiday season. Making pillows, rounded pillows, super easy with your circles and straights tool. I'm going to be showing you my envelope back option today. I'm sure many of you have done that before. But using your practice panels and that sort of thing to be able to do that is really, really easy. And I managed to actually completely remove my design. So I had to start all the way over, guys. That's what happens when you're in a hurry trying to get your video done quickly for everyone because you're late and your audio and your visual isn't working. All right, so we're moving this placement just again 4.5 to the up and 6 inches or 6 grid slot rows to the right, grid columns to the right, 4.5 rows up. And then this is my easy way of being able to add multiple designs. I just do the 4. There's an option to go ahead and add 4 designs to a hoop. And so I just delete 2 of them, and then you can line it up really easily with the previous design. I know I just want to be right above it and about 1 grid marking above that. So that's how I make my life easy, is just doing it that way. And it's actually worked out pretty well for me. So now we're going to go ahead and head on over, and we're not going to lose our design on the embroidery machine this time. You can kind of see it coming to shape on the screen there. And we are going to get started. So let's go ahead and head on over to our sewing machine now that I've done some placement changes here. And we'll move this around a little bit. All right. Here we go. Okay, so just backing up the design a little bit because I want to make sure that I start in the center. And perfect. So this is, from a ruler work standpoint, yes, it will take a little bit longer, but getting it just right in your block is actually so much easier with ruler work. And so when we talk to people about embroidery and you talk about why you might want to do it with embroidery, why you might want to do it with rulers, you kind of get the best of both worlds for placement, and then of course for being able to use your rulers to do that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with this embroidery design, and I'll go ahead and let that take it away. Still had struggles with our audio on this one, so we'll go ahead and just watch the machine do its thing here. I actually really enjoy watching embroidery. I wanted to give you a different perspective. So this is my upper camera, like the bird's eye view, if you will. And so it looks a little odd because you're looking at it from an angle that you wouldn't normally look at it from, but you can kind of see a little bit more of how the design comes together. One of the things I think is really interesting is, when you do ruler work, our goal is to have, really minimal stitches and embroidery. You want to be able to really have kind of single stitch design and not use too much thread on the project. And so doing ruler work, you obviously will create this design a whole lot differently than the way we digitize it. But there is some backtracking with ruler work. And so as we, go through and digitize this with our goal of not having thread breaks, you'll see that, the design doesn't exactly come together the same way that maybe we would have had the design come together with our rulers.
All right, so as this finishes doing its embroidery, we will go ahead and start preparing our little pieces that we're going to be using for our tie-offs. So we've got one more block to do, and then we're going to get ready to do some circle sewing. And I'm going to go ahead and pull out my extension table. We're going to take off this big beast of an embroidery unit, and we'll get started on that momentarily.
That is actually a Janome M17 machine. So it's got a really, really nice hoop size that you can get up to. I think it's an 18-inch hoop size on this machine. So really, really good hoop size. But still, because we're doing 12-inch blocks, I opted to do 2 hoopings on this. I could have potentially fit all 4 in the same hooping, but I chose to go ahead and do 2. So now we're just wrapping up this design, and then we're going to go ahead and start creating our seat cushion. All right, you can kind of see it from that angle. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I really have enjoyed working on my Janome machines, and one of the things that's pretty awesome about them is obviously what we love to do here at Sew Steady and Westerly Design, which is that ruler work.
Okay, here we go, guys. Now I have my practice panel embroidered. It's not perfect, but guess what? I'm going to be sitting on it. So we're going to go ahead and now take this out of the hoop, and I'm gonna remove, actually just rest this right here while I do this. I'm gonna remove my embroidery, what do they call that, aircraft carrier unit. And we are gonna go ahead and put our Sew Steady extension table on. So here's our Sew Steady. And we're gonna do a little bit of circle sewing. So let's go ahead and remove this from our hoop. And now I'm gonna go ahead and place that there. We're gonna do a couple things before we do that. I'm gonna go ahead and prepare my, I'm going to prepare my little bias tape that I'm going to use as our tie-offs for our seat, because I'm going to build that into our seat cushion. So in order to do that, I'm actually just tucking these, and I'm just going to kind of, because it's already pre-folded bias tape, I'm just going to tuck them, and then I'm just going to do a simple sew right down the edge of that. So we'll move this into embroidery mode, or out of embroidery mode and into sewing mode. I had the opportunity to work on these amazing machines all of last week, and you know, every time you work on a machine, I feel like you learn a little bit more about it. And so it was actually really fun to be able to just have time to experience this machine a little bit more. This is the Janome M17, and I feel like I'm fortunate enough to be able to play on this. I don't have this one at home, but it's fun to be able to play on it here, and just know that, you know, you get to show off some of those amazing luxury item opportunities that you have with this. Now, this machine has this really cool foot called the HP2 foot, and it's amazing when you're using fabric that maybe you would not necessarily, that wouldn't always want to stay in place, because it grips the fabric on both sides. It grips it on the foot as well as on the feed dogs. So it has this awesome opportunity to be able to really keep everything flowing with even stitches all through. And so it's great for if you're doing layered projects like we're doing right now. I'm not going to use that foot today, but we could. And I would really recommend it if we were doing something with maybe like a cuddle fabric or silks and stuff like that. So that was actually a really cool thing to be able to see and use last week as well. And of course, we got to use the stitch regulation last week, which was actually really cool too. Janome's machines are actually some of the only machines, well, they are officially built into the machine, so it's working as you want it to for ruler work. It's the only machine on the market that offer the stitch regulation. You can do it with the Berninas, and we created that solution with the Bernina, with the stitch regulator table, but the machines that they developed at Janome have it built into their actual foot, which is just even so much better. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our practice panel here. So we are going to go ahead and just do a simple envelope back, because I love envelope backs. They're so easy. You don't have to do a whole lot with them, and it just makes life easy. So I'm going to go ahead and create a little clean tie-off for my envelope back right there, and then I'm going to do it on this side. I've just got a couple of extra pieces of fabric there, and so I'm actually just going to sew a straight seam down this so I have a nice clean seam, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Actually, I don't even know that I need to do that, because I'm going to put the circles and straights tool on, and then everything is get sewed together. I'm doing it the easy way, guys. Maybe don't do it the easy way at home, just because I'll probably end up, you know, having to tuck things in and stuff later. But this can be the easy way for me right now. All right, so let's go ahead and put our Sew Steady Universal Circles and Straights mat onto this machine. And oh, I better bring my needle up. There we go. This isn't going on if the needle is down. All right, so now I'm just going to align that. This is really important now for circle sewing, that we align the needle alignment to the current placement of the needle, and then we're aligning to the needle plate, so it's aligned both vertical and horizontal. And I'm going to give you. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put my tool on, and I want to get a pretty big circle for this. So this is our measuring for our circles. So it actually measures from 2 to 29-inch circle diameter.
So now I'm going to place my tool at around the 17-inch because I know that my practice panel is 18 inches wide, and I want to do, ultimately I want to be able to have it fill like a 16-inch pillow form.
And now I'm going to go ahead because I actually want to do, whoops, silly me. I want to do right sides together. So I'm going to do this, and then that's going to get all folded up like so. And then I'm going to do this. And then when everything gets turned out, it's going to be pretty. And so now what I want to do is I actually just kind of want to find center on my block, and I think what I'll actually do is I'm going to pull these two off first so I know that I'm getting right center on this. Okay. And I know that this is a 12-inch block, and I know that this is a fat quarter panel. So getting my 17-inch circle is going to work out great. And so now I've got the pen.
Okay, so I've got the pen right going through the middle of the block, and I'm just going to secure my other two pieces to it right now. And so when we fold this out from the envelope back, everything is going to be clean. Now, normally you would probably want to sew your seams on these flaps, but I know because my circle is basically going to catch all the sides of both of these pieces, it'll be fine. So I just use 18-inch squares to go ahead and do my envelope back, so everything fits great that way. And now I'm just going to be testing it. I want to make sure that when I sew all the way around this in the circle, I'm actually going to do like a 3/4 circle that is going to touch on all sides. And so I'm just using this as my guide to make sure that it's going to touch. And I actually decided that I want to go ahead and move the placement just a little bit because it's not touching on the right side. So the sewing machine. So I'm going to go ahead and just easily move it. Now that I've got everything placed, it makes it that much easier to move your whole project. So I'm going to do like 16 3/4-inch circle.
It wasn't quite lining up, so I'm going to go ahead and just move my tool down a smidge. So it's going to be like 16.5-inch circle. And now I know that when it stitches, it'll stitch all the way around. So feed dogs up. And we are going to go ahead and have this stitch all the way around. So in order to do that, I'm going to press the foot down, and then I'm just going to be feathering it along the way. And I'll show you live action as we go around here too. Okay.
Okay, here we go. It's always so fun to watch the Circles and Straights tool work because it's so easy and so effective in creating simple projects like this. And so as I'm getting closer to the end, I decided that I want to go ahead and stop at the very edge of my 12-inch square. And that's going to be where I end up doing my flat back, because I want to have a flat back to go against the edge of the chair, since this is going to be like a 3/4 circle, if you will. So I'm just sewing to that marking. So I'm just going to kind of continue to watch it and do my circle sewing into that point. And then I'm going to tie off, and then I'm going to finish my circle on the other side.
I'm going to stitch to right about here. Okay, so I just stitched to this marking right here, and then I'm going to actually cut my fabric. I'm going to do a little tie off here. Okay, maybe reverse stitch a little. And now I'm going to cut that there. And then I'm going to bring this around, and I'm going to start at the same spot right about here. And I can actually see through the fabric.
Okay, so now we've got our 3/4 circle all set up. And now I'm going to use my Circles and Straights tool.
So I just removed my pen, and now I'm going to use this as my straight guide. So I'm going to just line this up. I'm going to line this up to create my seam there. So I'm just going to kind of make sure that that gets out of the way of the needle bar. So I'll move that forward a little bit. And it looks like I'm just going to get myself a nice seam. I've got plenty of room to do that. And so now what I want to do is actually, I'm going to judge this, because I think I have about 3 inches. So I'm going to use the 3-inch marker on this to guide to keep everything straight. So I can keep that down, and
okay, so you can kind of see how I'm using my Circles and Straights tool on that to kind of use my extra fabric and get that straight seam using that tool. So sometimes we don't show off the straight side of that tool very often, but on this project it's perfect to show off. Now I almost forgot to add in my strings. Don't do what I do. Go ahead and put those strings on the inside. So have the finished part on the inside of the project. So when you turn it inside out, those will pop out like they were meant to be there. I had them hanging out the wrong end, so I had to make it work. But I repeat, do not do what I do here. Push those strings all the way in and have the little nubs on the outside of this stitch line. And then you'll make yourself really happy. So, and then like I said, we're just going to go ahead and sew all the way down this right side here.
just added my strings to my seat cushion. So I'm going to go ahead and just sew my straight seam. And I have 2 more to add. So I'm going to do that on this end. All right, just doing some layers.
Okay, so now we've gone ahead and add in the other 2 the wrong way. Again, make sure to tuck those in all the way with your finished sides on the inside, and your unfinished kind of hanging out with the rest of the stuff you're going to be cutting away. Because everything that is on the inside of this line is part of our seat cushion. Everything else we're going to cut off here. And so now we just sew that in, and we're going to cut our threads, and we're going to have some fun cutting. Okay, so get our scissors out, and we're ready to begin our cutting here. And this is where I realize where the errors of my ways. And here we go. Oh no, I didn't quite realize it. I decided, oh, they didn't secure to the inside. So now I'm securing them down, and we can just get through this. You don't need to watch this part. Here we go.
So let's go ahead and cut this away now, and then we'll flip it and see what we got. Okay, so I'm just cutting the around the circle, because this would be on the inside of my pillow now, and my seat cushion, and so I don't necessarily want to have all this extra bulk in there. And here we go. Okay. Okay. So now okay. And we'll go ahead and cut this off. And all of this is going to be on the inside, so my choppy cutting won't be as visible. And we will flip this around. And then you can use like a point turner or something like that to be able to kind of get everything nice and clean. And my strings did not end up working the way I planned because I put them in the wrong spot, guys. My bad. So what I'm going to do is I should have had them going the other direction. So lesson learned. And so we're going to go ahead and just place them right here on the ends. And we'll tie them to the bottom or attach them to the bottom, and nobody will know the difference. Okay, but in the future, if I were you, I would go ahead and do it the other way. Okay, and right here. So I did get a little extra there. I'll be cutting that away a little bit. And here we go. And voila. We now have our very own seat cushion that we are ready to take to classes. And this is made out of our Shadow Dizzy Geese practice panel. So you can see my embroidery designs. I've got that all done. And now we can add our pillow form and be able to give ourselves a little boost in our classroom environment. So let's see, this is a square. I was actually going to be getting myself a circle pillow form, but I figured this would fill it really nice. And then we could kind of show the extra boost that we would get from that. And then we will get a circle from a local shop, quilt store, or Walmart or whatnot. But this will give us a nice extra boost, and to be able to do that. And you could even go bigger. I went that size because of the layout of it, but this could absolutely go a little bit bigger. And I'm just going to cut some extra thread there. And we now have a really nice boosted seat cushion ready to be able to use on any environment. But I think about it for those sewing classes and ruler work classes, because those tend to be the ones that you would want that in. So thank you for joining us today. And we're going to be announcing our winner for our club box now too. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for your patience today. I apologize that it took me a minute to be able to get you the video for this because my streaming wasn't going to work, but we figured it out. So please help us congratulate Marian Thompson. She is the winner of our Club Box giveaway that was announced for everybody that entered to win for our fall Club Box launch, and we had so many other prizes that we offered throughout that time. But don't forget, we have some amazing giveaways that are still happening, and we want you to head on over to our Sew Steady page, because guess what, guys? It is time to start voting. So I'm actually going to go ahead and head over to our Sew Steady blog post right now, and I'm going to give you guys the link so you can start voting with us for, you know what time it is. It is our Churn Dash Challenge. So we were able to get several entries into our Churn Dash Challenge. And let me go ahead and show you some of these, and then I will ask you guys to start voting, okay? So here is our Churn Dash Challenge, and it's time to vote for your favorites. We had some last minute entries, but it looks like we have about 13 entries. I love it. So here's a link. Please go ahead and sign up for this amazing, or actually just vote for your favorites. And I think you're able to still enter into the challenge. It should have 2 tabs on it, but let me double check that. Yeah, so if you still want to enter, it's not too late. And if you have a fun Churn Dash project that you did in the past or this quarter, maybe you finished it with the designs that we highlighted this quarter, please go ahead and jump in there and be part of our Churn Dash Challenge. We are giving away 3 different prizes for our entries, so that's good odds, guys. And again, thank you all so much for continuing on and joining us in our lives and our community and our education. Don't forget to join Westerly by Me. I'm going to go ahead and share one other thing with you. We do have our fall partner special offers and giveaways. Now, this is something that we have teamed up with our partners all over the sewing community, and we are giving away some really, really cool prizes, guys. So one of those is actually our Janome Skyline. Janome answered big for us on a grand prize for this quarter, and they are doing a Janome Skyline S6 sewing machine, if you can believe it. That's our grand prize. We're going to be announcing those winners on December 18th when we announce our club box reveal for January, or for first quarter. We are also giving away a Go Cutter. We have 4 or 5 different projects, and then we've got the Goat Notions totes that are perfect for holding all of your tools and sewing supplies, and so much more. So go on to our blog post, enter to win our fall special partner giveaways. We would love to have you part of that. And again, we appreciate you joining us today and learning a little bit more about some of our Shadow Dizzy Geese designs. The design we did today was part of our embroidery collection. So again, thank you for your patience. Thanks for being part of our live today, and we'll look forward to having you join us again soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.